on? Welcome back to the Friarside Chat, the first episode of the 2024 season, and we are stoked to be here. There is so much to talk about. There are so many question marks
Still.
but the season is right around the corner. How you feeling? Good to be back?
It's great to be back. And it's a different level of optimism. It's not like last year. We don't have expectations, as they say. But there's also all these people that are coming up that we haven't seen at the major league level, and it's exciting. And we've got new faces that are also young and controllable, which is exciting. It'll be a fun spring training. There's a lot going on, and a new manager.
Oh, yeah. You know what? That's a good place to start. Shilty boy. Sounds like he's already making a pretty good impression in camp.
Yes.
No, you had some good points you were bringing up about what he's, just his philosophies, and everything he's sharing there.
Yeah, it seems to be different than probably what Bomel was bringing to the table. Bomel, very established, has seen success in many different lights, and he was probably picking and choosing from his background on what he thought would be best for our team, whereas Shildt is coming in with the benefit that we've all heard. You know, he's been in the organization for years, getting to have kind of a bird's eye view and a backseat look at it, and it seems like the players are really receptive. So watching every player interview during spring training is what we do.
Yeah.
And the vibe that we get is that they like what Shildt is bringing to the table in the sense of he never played big league ball. He's not trying to make anyone what he was.
Right.
And he's been very open and receptive to how each player wants to be ran. And it seems like he's got a good pulse on that. So it's exciting to hear that the players are adapting to it, but also that he has strategies going into the next year, which I think you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, strategy, but also, too, like, I think one thing that always stood out to me, you know, when he does do the post games or whatever, you know, they're just picking his brain about his philosophies and whatnot. You can see he's not afraid to share his personality too, and I think that could be another thing that resonates well in the clubhouse with the players. You know, like he'll throw in like these little like corny jokes, and you're just kind of like, "Oh, Mike, come on, what are you doing?"
Oh, Mike,
but I'm like, okay, I kind of liked it there. You know, it just like takes the edge off a little bit, which I feel like is kind of nice.
Yeah, that's
charismatic leader. You know,
that's a good way of putting it, of taking the edge off, because it seems that he's this cool dichotomy between sharing some really nuanced insights between him and his players, while also keeping a lot in the clubhouse, which obviously was a big deal last year, was keeping everything internal. But he's not putting up a wall to the media. He's been pretty forthcoming on his conversations on how he's going to attack the season from an offensive standpoint, what his real takes are on some of these guys and their performances in spring, but also giving light levity and saying, it's just spring. And when they try to prod at him too much, he's very quick to throw it back and say, you know, take it however you want to say it. That's fine. But here's what I'm saying. And it's not that. So it's been really nice. I'm pleasantly surprised with what I've seen so far. It's early. It's spring. But it's nice to have a good taste versus an immediate, who is this guy?
Right. Exactly. So I guess, thinking about Shildt too, thoughts on how you kind of handled of course, one of the big stories of the spring so far being that Bogarts Kim swaparoo, and it seemed like he might have alluded to it to Bogarts apparently in Aruba, but kind of waited. But it seems like I don't know.
It seems like it was well received, but also at the same time, Bogarts is swallowing a pill. Like, the dude's
just a pro, He
is a pro, but after watching every interview, I'm like, this guy wishes he was still at short.
Yeah.
And you can't blame him. I mean, it's a premium position. It's what he's been known for. It's what he's good at.
Yeah.
And stepping away to acknowledge that someone is better suited for a position that you have.
Yeah.
That's just not easy. And like you said, he's a pro. And that's why I think there's so much respect being thrown around in his direction, is because that ain't easy to do, especially when it's someone who came from a different league that's notoriously I don't want to say lack of a better word, an inferior league. Not as much talent in the KBO. We can say that. That's fair.
Yeah.
And he's coming overseas and then kind of takes the job because he's so good defensively.
Yeah.
But that's not what it's about. And he's a pro to be able to acknowledge that and not care about what anyone else is going to think about it. His whole message the whole time has been, if this is already going to happen, and we're in a position to where it can happen now and put us in a better position to win, then I'm for it.
Yeah.
And what a guy. I mean, that's captain leadership type move, and definitely good to see.
I've got a lot of thoughts on the whole Bogarts transition too. Like, where do I even start?
He's a very high-priced second baseman now.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's one thing to start, right? Like, very high-priced second baseman. And it was funny, one of the first things I thought was like, oh, man, we're going to have like a perennial all-star at second base. But then I remember that Mookie Betts also moved to second base this year, which is kind of funny. Like,
he's pretty good.
But no, I mean, like, first things first, Bogarts handled it like a pro. I thought one of the like coolest things he even said was, well, I won a World Series when I was at third base, came up with the Sox, won it as a everyday shortstop, and now I can win at second base. So I was like,
that's
just
sweet, dude.
class, you know? So definitely big props to Bogarts for that one. And I remember, too, a lot of people were saying, like, why did they wait so long? Blah, blah. And, like, I get that take. But you also got to remember that, like, everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of us thought that Kim was going to be traded.
I was just about to say,
you know what I mean?
It kind of shuts down Kim trade talks.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, Kim is appearingly here to stay, and they have such a good relationship. I remember last year when Bogarts was playing short, he said on fly balls to his side of the field, he'd almost look to Kim to see if he was going to get it.
Yeah, he'd probably
and it would shock him if he wouldn't come over and get it. So it's just one of those things where it makes sense.
Yeah. Do you think the Padres moved Kim to short purely because it was the best move for the team? Or do you think that there might be any other motives behind it? Because I have a theory, but I'm just curious if you have any other thoughts.
I'll prop it up. No, I don't think there's any alternative motives. Are you trying to say that they're bumping up his stock price as a premium shortstop versus a premium second baseman?
Maybe.
It's possible.
Like possibly that. Part of it might be like, you know, hey, we value, you know, as an organization, we see your value. We see you as a shortstop. You're our guy. Maybe that's a little bargaining chip for a re-signing. I don't know. Maybe not. But it could be to your point.
Opposite? Is it now he's a premium shortstop and you're paying
so now that we're going to trade him at mid-season, you're trading for a shortstop rather than second base? I don't know. It's just like there could be so many things. We don't know. Again, it's the storyline. If you ask any of, you know, the managers of the team, it's like, oh, you know, he's best for the team this year at shortstop, which is like, okay, probably.
Yeah,
but
it's definitely in favor of Kim. I mean, Kim, his stock value just went up. I mean, he went from being a spot starting second base, third base, where do you need me type of guy to I'm so good, I'm going to move an all-star out of shortstop, and I'm going to be your everyday shortstop. So props to Kim. I don't think I saw that coming, especially when you had, at the time when he showed up, Tatis, who could also play short, who was an elite shortstop. Yes, he had errors, but he made plays that were...
It was mostly like throwing errors, I feel like. Right?
Yeah, and on plays where it's like, how did he get to that ball? He tried to do too much. He's 20 years old.
Yeah,
no shot.
Tried to show off the cannon a little too much and overthrew.
Yeah, but I mean, he was really good at short. So, I mean, you have him. You have Machado, who can play short. You have Cronenworth, who can spot start short and not be a liability.
Yep.
And then you've got Bogarts. And then you've got Kim there now. Kim's your, like, out of all those people, Kim is your lockdown shortstop. So... Good for him. It'll be interesting to see him throughout the year and if they extend him, because it would be a lot to ask Bogarts to keep hopping back and forth. Right. I don't think he wants to do that either.
That's another thing too, right? Like yet another aspect to this move, right? Is are you moving Kim because he's the best defensive shortstop, but then if he signs elsewhere the next year, are you freeing up that shortstop spot for Mr. Merrill?
That's a good point too.
Right? And that's a whole other conversation.
We'll get into Merrill later.
About Jackson Merrill.
We'll get there later.
But yeah, so that's a really interesting one. One of the other biggest question marks heading into the spring, of course, is the starting rotation. I know that there's a lot that you wanted to talk about.
It's my favorite thing to watch, maybe in my lifetime, as far as spring goes. We've never seen 3 spots be available at spring. We've never seen such a surge of young talent come up at the same time as a Padre fan. You had Gore, and that was like, ooh, let's see if Gore can break camp. You know, but this year it's like you've got Snelling. List them. Snelling,
Lesko,
Thorpe, all the Yankees, King,
Burrito, Vasquez.
Okay, right. So
probably
like,
missing somebody.
We're missing
still have
Waldron, or
Avila.
Yes,
Waldron,
the
that was
knuckleballer.
like almost 10 guys, right?
Right. So
that's crazy.
And all are within, like, have made their debut with the Padres within a year, or are brand new, and they all have upside. So like, it's every spring training game, I'm watching a pitcher come out of the pen to go, and it's not like this guy's getting reps.
Yeah,
these are guys fighting for a spot.
Chihuahua's guy, or whatever.
And we get to see someone new pitch that we haven't seen before. I mean, it is really fun, and the knuckleballer is kind of showing out. He was kind of put off to the side, like, oh yeah, he's going to get an opportunity.
Yeah,
I don't think he's given up a run yet this year in spring.
Yeah, I think he's been pitching well.
And he was the first guy to go 3+ innings. So I mean, he's making a case.
Nice.
And then we've got all these new guys coming in. It's so fun to watch spring training.
Yeah, I was telling you before we started the show, I was able to catch Randy Vasquez's first start. Kind of impressive stuff. The dude's like, he's pretty built. Like, he looks like an athlete. He was rocking these like gnarly, like mango flavored cleats. Which,
Mango.
Yeah, they were awesome. We'll check it out. I'll find a picture.
Yeah,
I'll post
here.
it. Yeah, it's. But they were pretty sweet, and yeah, his stuff, like one of those guys, that just like no pitch is straight. Like that's what I was getting, and he had a little bit wildness in his start, but he got out of it, and he's still a young kid too, right? Like 24 or something, 25, and so yeah, I mean, again, I only saw him pitch once, but it was like looking pretty good.
Speaking of looking good,
yeah,
King,
yes,
just showing up. I mean, as a guy who had to fight very hard to get into the starting rotation for the Yankees, it seems like him coming here and knowing he has a spot.
Yeah,
has been like the biggest confidence boost to him, and he's talked about how he's working on new pitches, and it's like, I don't have to be my best right now. I can develop my best, and even so, the dude's shoving.
Yeah, because he doesn't have that like stress factor about worrying like, oh, am I going to be a reliever? Am I going to be a starter? How am I going to prepare for this versus that? It's like, okay, you're going to be probably number 3. And he's like, all right, like let me get to work and let me prepare to be the number 3 starter.
You want a hot take?
Let's hear it.
He might be our ace this year.
Ooh, I like it. I can kind of see it. I mean, as long as he can stay healthy,
the dude's a dog. He's been talking to Niebla and company saying he wants to throw 180 to 200 pitches in the regular season.
Oh, I thought a pretty cool connection too. I was hearing an interview, and he was really close with Corey Kluber on the Yankees, and then Corey Kluber attributes like a ton of his success to Niebla when they were on Cleveland. Is that right?
He said he would not have won a Cy Young had he not.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to see how that all trickles. The Niebla effect, kind of trickles down through these generation of pitchers, and now King gets to work directly with Niebla, so that's going to be really interesting.
I have good feelings about him, and all sources have just said how stand-up of a guy he is, and he's clearly come in here with a vision. Shildt has talked about that, where it's like he came in here with a plan on how he likes to operate. Yeah. He's been open and receptive to what we've had to say, but at the end of the day, he's clearly got a way that he's going to be structured and how he goes about it. And it's been working for him so far, and the fact that he's clearly comfortable. He's talked a lot about having a lot of former Yankees be on this team helping him.
Yeah, comfortable.
And he's spoke very highly of you and Musgrove.
No, I'm just kidding.
You, Musgrove, and Machado. All the captains have given him a warm welcome. So, it's just a lot of good things pointing in his direction. I hope he stays healthy. But, yeah, dark horse for ace this year.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned Musgrove and Machado, because there's another story. I think that's interesting one to talk about.
This is an awesome story.
Yeah, so Joe Musgrove has been, I don't want to say struggling, but he's had,
he's been struggling.
It's been a rough spring for him. Like he's
coming off of injury. It's his first.
His
first
first 2 starts.
Okay.
I don't think he got out of the first inning of the first 2 starts he made, and gave up like 4 in each appearance. So yeah, struggling a bit. Which, right, like you said, coming off injury, hadn't pitched in like a year.
That's what spring's for.
But apparently, we were just reading a story that on the backfields in like a whatever you call it, B game or whatever,
inter
squad. Yeah, there you go. Manny Machado actually stepped into the box against Musgrove about like 4 times or something, with the sole intention of just like helping him get his shit right, basically.
Being the eyes that he can't watch himself pitch, so he has someone that he trusts, which is his other side of the field captain, coming up and saying, all right, man, I got you. Yeah. I'll take extra reps, essentially, to be an eye and give you my piece, my opinion, take it for what it's worth. And that's captains being captains.
That was really cool. Yeah. And even too, I know even Joe was saying how grateful he was for Manny, because he really said he was able to tune a couple things, which, as you could see in his starts, like he was just hanging breaking balls, not
as crisp.
Yeah, just not as, so it was just really cool to see that, captain on captain kind of.
And that's how you want it, right? Yeah. I mean, I know that Joe, being the leader of that pitching staff, especially on like the English speaking side, he's the voice of the pitching staff. He wanted to go out and show, hey, I haven't lost a step. I'm still your boy. I'm still the dog. And he got shelled twice. And it's just not a fun feeling. And you saw it. The whole entire San Diego team was in the dugout watching these outings, and it couldn't have felt good. And you don't want, your 4A guy, your new guy to the team, to be the one to say, hey, you know what, Joe? You might. It looks like you're up here. You might want to bring it down here. Like that's not points off, Joe. That's not who you want it to come from. That's not who he wants it to come from. So you want it to be from exactly who it came from, Manny Machado. Yep. They're boys. They've gone through it together. If there's someone who's going to tell you what you're doing wrong, it should be Manny. And Manny stepped up, and Joe stepped up, and hopefully they're right in the ship. early in spring. It's really fun. It's an awesome story of how captains should get together, look after one another, and you're not immune to bad outings just because you're the captain. So, hoping he gets back on track.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an awesome little story there.
Vince, there's something exciting on the horizon.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of time. Just spill the beans.
We will see you next time in spring training.
In Arizona.
Peoria, Arizona. That's right, your boys, the Friarside Chat. We are hitting the road. We will be out there for a weekend. We should be able to catch at least 2 games, I believe.
At least.
I think we're probably going to see they're playing, I think it's the Giants and the White Sox.
I don't care who I'm not watching the other team.
Yeah, regardless of who they're playing.
Who are you most excited to see?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably Merrill. I think that's the obvious answer, but it makes the most sense because he is the biggest impact opportunity, I think.
I'm excited for him, man. He had an interview the other day where it was the first time ever that I thought this guy might be big league ready. And it had nothing to do with play. It had nothing to do with how he was talking. It was the fact that they asked him, because Tatis made that big statement saying, hey,
I've seen enough.
This guy's ready. Age is just a number.
Yeah.
His response to the reporters asking him about that, they go, so did you talk to Tatis about that? He goes, no, we don't have to talk about that. Silent respect, man. And he goes, I've heard it. I know it. And he knows he said it. So, we're just out there. He's my teammate. I'm just trying to get along with him. And I go, how big league is that?
Yeah.
Just to understand that,
it's like mentally he's there.
Hey, if you're a team, what lets you know someone's ready? We're peers. Don't gawk at me. You want to be up here with me. Let's play. Let's perform. Let's get after it. Seems like Merrill's ready for that. So, I mean, I'm excited.
He's had some good looking at bats. He's looked good in the outfield even.
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see him in person.
I want to see the outfield race. I'm excited about the outfield race. I'm excited to see the pitchers.
There's a couple guys, right? Mercado, Oscar Mercado, former top prospect, now kind of like middle-aged guy, but a middle-aged, but he's like 28. He's 29. Hey, in baseball terms, that's middle-aged. But he's having a really good spring. There's a couple other guys, right? Like Tim LeCastro they picked up, who's like the fastest guy in baseball. And again, right, this outfield race is so open, so who knows?
Ozokar also playing well.
Yeah, Ozokar's hitting well. He hit a bomb.
Put a no-doubter. Yeah.
Hit a bomb.
Sneaky power.
Yeah, Marcy, Paulie, all those guys.
It's going to be fun.
It'll be a lot of fun. Oh, Ethan Salas.
Yes.
Seen some clips of that guy,
Can't believe we didn't even talk about him, but yeah.
I mean...
It's because he's not going to break camp.
He's not going to break camp. But he's still an exciting story, though. I've seen some of his at-bats, and I just, I don't know. I just can't even fathom, he's 17. Dude, that's
This is
insane.
when we would have been
unreal.
A regular junior in high school making his first trip to varsity pitching, and he's hitting professional pitching.
Yeah, it's insane what that kid is doing.
But so we're excited to go to Arizona.
Excited.
We'll have some cool clips.
Lots of little shorts. We're going to try to hopefully get some good footage of some of these guys we're talking about. Guys getting, and seeing the progress from Machado, maybe see if he's making throws. I'd love to see that. Yeah. We haven't really heard much on that. So just getting some of those insights would be awesome. But yeah, expect lots of content coming from us. And of course, a very in-depth podcast following that trip. But we're super stoked. And 2024, it's here.
Wait a minute. This is also the marking of the first full year of the Friarside Chat.
Hey, that's right.
Last year we started halfway through. Now we're starting in spring training. Enjoy the ride. We appreciate you. And we can't wait for it. I mean, this is so exciting. And I'm happy to be back with Vince.
That's right.
And this trip is going to be super fun. So we'll keep you posted.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. We will see you next time.